Mr. Man, Little Miss, the Great British Tour, Sunshine Tours, Roger Harrigan Race, Little Miss Sunshine loves going on holiday. She likes nothing more than visiting new places with her friends. So she bought a double-decker bus to do her very own guided tour of Great Britain. Little Miss Sunshine had bought everyone an umbrella for the trip. It often rains in Britain. She loved. Mr. Worry looked up at the Little Miss Sunshine bus, but your bus doesn't have a roof, he cried. I know, smiled Little Miss Sunshine all aboard. This is London.
Is it? I keep reading.
The Great British Tour was from Land's End in the most western corner of England to Joe Groats at the very top of Scotland. The first stop on the tour was the Eden Project in Cornwall. In a huge dam that they tracked about a steamy rainfall and discovered how the plants there help us all alive.
Wow.
Here I forgot to write what we wanted. Mr. Greedy discovered how many cream teas he could eat. The next stop is going to be Stonehenge. Then they go back onto the bus to travel to Wiltshire, where Little Miss Sunshine showed them Stonehenge, one of the wonders of the world and the most famous prehistoric monument in Britain. Mr. Wise stayed on the bus just in case it rained. Nobody knows how Netaloke man moved these enormous stones to build a circle. And Little Miss Sunshine, I think Mr. Strong may have an idea. Giggled Little Mrs. Giggles. The next day, Little Miss Sunshine took them across the south of England to Dover. Mr. Worry was very cornered when he saw the hot air balloons, which were going to take them over the white cliffs. It's amazing. We are flying like a bird, cried Little Miss Giggles. I can't ever see France from up here. Luckily for Mr. Worry, he was in Mr. Greedy balloon, which could not get off the ground. Too many cream teas. There was more tea at the next stop. Mr. Snoofy had organised tea with the Queen at Windsor Castle. Little Miss Special was very generous when Queen greeted Little Miss Princess like an old friend. And Mr. Worry was very scared of the corgis, but things only went from bad to worse. Little Miss Dobbin refused to curtly in the front of the Queen. Mr. Clumsy spilled his tea on the rug. And of course Mr. Greedy ate all the biscuits. Mr. Snooty was very embarrassed. He wanted to be invited back. After a stressful, the next stop is going to be Birmingham Canals. After a stressful day at the castle, they decided to take things a bit slower and swap the bus for a board along the Birmingham Canals. Did you know that Birmingham has more canals than Venice? Asked Little Miss Sunshine. Hop aboard, everyone. Mr. Worry decided to stay on the bus again. He was worried he might fall off the barge, and of course Mr. Bump did fall in the canal. And Mr. Clumsy and Little Miss Hoof splash. Once they had all dried off, they climbed back on Miss Sunshine tour bus. Next stop, Wales, cried Little Miss Sunshine. Did someone say Wales? Asked Mr. Worry, nervously looking over his shoulder. But Mr. Worry had no need to be worried as they travelled out of England to the Canterville Castle in Wales, where they watched an entertaining jousting competition. Mr. Topsy Turvy was not going to win any prizes. It was a flying visit to Wales. As that night they camped in Shayway Forest under the star. It was Mr. Strong's idea that they dressed up as Robin Hood and his merry band outlaws. And Little Miss Somersault was an excellent shot with a bow and arrow. Mr. Dizzy was not so good, not so much a bow and arrow as an arrow and bow. The next stop on Little Miss Sunshine tour was Northern Ireland. They were up bright and early to board a ferry and sail across the Irish Sea. Mr. Tal wanted to see the giant causeway. Legend has it that long ago two giants loved each other. Fionn and Irish giant built a path over the sea to reach the Scottish giant Benidorm, but he ripped it up in a rage and the giant causeway was made. However, explained Little Miss Sunshine, the causeway was really created by a volcano 60 million years ago. Mr. Worry was not sure which version worried him more, two giants or a volcano. The following morning, they were back on the ferry to England for a relaxing day on Blackpool Beach with fish and chips for lunch. Mr. Busy was too busy to stop for lunch. He was too busy making a sandcastle castle. It was nearly as tall as Blackpool Tower, which everyone climbed up after lunch. Well, not everyone. One person stayed on the ground, and I'm sure you know who that was.
Who?
Wales giant volcanoes high. What next? Well, wondered Mr. White. Well, next the sailing on continuous water in the Lake District. They had a holiday boat, but there was no wind. Mr. Worry relief was short-lived as Mr. Strong had a lot of puff. He took a very deep breath and he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed all the way around the lake. Little Miss Sunshine Tour was now nearing its end, but not before they travelled even further north through England up to Scotland. On their way, they passed the angle of the north, which was 4 times taller than their double-decker bus. Just before they reached Scotland, they came to Harrison Wall, which was built by the Romans 2,000 years ago. They decided to go for a long walk, but Mr. Forgetful forgot to shut one of the gates. Poor Mr. Worry. He was even afraid of sheep. In Scotland, they had to decide whether they should take the high road or the low road. They decided on the high road all the way up Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles. Mr. Worry wished that he had not stayed on the bus this time.
It's British Isles.
Yes, sir. After exploring Scotland, they finally reached John Groat. They all agreed it has been a wonderful tour, and we didn't even need the umbrellas, laughed Miss Sunshine happily. It's not called Sunshine Tours for nothing, contested Mr. Worry stepped down from the bus. Plop. Was that a raindrop? Worry, Miss Worry. No. It was a seagull. Giggled little Miss Giggles.
Show it in the mirror.
Bird poop.
Bye.
Bye now. Last picture. The Great British Tour followed the route to the Mr. Men and Little Mistake with your finger. How many of the places you have visited?
3. Can you show? Nitin, can you show please?
Okay, 3 we have visited.